James runs the numbers every Sunday evening. Not because something went wrong. Nothing went wrong. He sits at the kitchen table, opens a spreadsheet he has been maintaining for 3 years, and works through the same calculation. Mortgage, insurance, car payments, groceries, utilities, student loans. Every week he arrives at the same conclusion. He is not getting ahead. He's treading water. And next Sunday the exercise will repeat, and the result will be roughly the same. His friend Nathan, same neighborhood, similar house, comparable income, took a Tuesday off last month without telling anyone in advance. No crisis, no conversation with his manager. He simply decided he did not feel like going in, and he did not go in. Nathan is not significantly wealthier than James. He is just not running the Sunday spreadsheet anymore. And the difference between those two experiences, the constant financial arithmetic versus the quiet that comes when it stops, is what paying off a mortgage actually produces. Nobody explains this part when you sign the 30-year paperwork. The average mortgage payment in the current rate environment sits above $2,800 monthly for someone who bought recently. The median American household takes home approximately $5,400 after taxes and deductions. That means for most households, the mortgage alone is consuming more than half of all available income before a single other expense is paid. Let James and his household illustrate what that looks like in practice. Combined income of $112,000 annually sounds solid. After federal and state taxes, FICA contributions, and a modest retirement contribution, take-home is approximately $6,800 monthly. The mortgage on their $380,000 house takes $2,400. Property taxes, insurance, and maintenance reserve, the costs that remain even after the loan is gone, add another $900. 2 car payments to cover separate commutes in a suburb where nothing is walkable add $800. Insurance, fuel, student loans, groceries, utilities, and health insurance premiums collectively consume another $2,600. James's household arrives at a monthly surplus of roughly $100 before anyone gets a haircut, the dog sees a vet, or a child needs anything for school. They have done nothing irresponsible. No boat, no expensive vacations, no obvious indulgences. They followed the conventional path: degrees, careers, a house, and a decent school district, and that path has left them with $100 of monthly breathing room and a background question that runs constantly. Can we still cover the mortgage? That question is not dramatic, it is quiet. It shapes every conversation about job changes, career pivots, business ideas, and schedule flexibility. It is the lens through which every significant decision gets evaluated. And most people in this position stop noticing it the way you stop noticing background noise until the moment it disappears. When the mortgage is paid, the full payment does not become freely deployable cash. Property taxes, insurance, and maintenance remain. For a $400,000 home, that totals roughly $800 to $900 monthly, depending on location. What actually frees up is approximately $2,000 monthly on a typical payment. That number matters because of what $2,000 monthly does when it is redirected to investment rather than to a lender. At historical average market returns of approximately 8% annually, $2,000 per month invested consistently produces approximately $365,000 over 10 years, nearly $700,000 over 15, and over $1.1 million over 20 years. More than half of that final figure represents compound growth rather than contributions. The majority of the eventual wealth comes from time and returns, not from the investor working harder or earning more. This is the part of the mortgage payoff story that does not appear anywhere in the closing documents. The bank will not volunteer the information that their 30-year product is costing a household approximately $1 million in foregone compounding. The standard counterargument is worth addressing directly. If a mortgage rate is below 5% and the stock market historically returns 8%, the mathematically optimal choice is to invest extra funds rather than prepay the loan. The numbers on this are correct. The numbers also assume the freed cash is actually invested. Most of the time, it is not. A mandatory mortgage payment functions as forced savings. It removes the decision. When that payment disappears and becomes discretionary cash, a substantial percentage of households absorb it into expanded spending within the first 2 years. The spreadsheet does not account for human behavior. The math also assumes a household can watch their investment portfolio fall 30 or 40% during a market downturn while continuing to make a mandatory $2,000 monthly payment to a lender. This is a meaningfully different psychological experience than watching that same portfolio decline from a house that is owned outright. One scenario is uncomfortable. The other is the scenario in which people make genuinely damaging financial decisions under pressure. For mortgages above 7%, which describes most loans originated since 2022, early payoff competes directly with expected market returns and becomes a clear argument in its own right. Below 4.5%, investing the difference is usually the better mathematical choice, provided it is actually invested rather than spent. A study tracking households that eliminated debt found that anxiety levels dropped measurably when debt accounts were closed, not merely reduced, but closed. Cognitive performance on standardized assessments improved. Decision-making became less impulsive, more oriented toward long-term outcomes. The finding that surprised researchers most was that the number of accounts closed mattered more than the dollar amount eliminated. Closing a $3,000 credit card produced more measurable psychological improvement than partially reducing a $5,000 debt. The brain responds to open obligations, the count of things still owed, more than to the aggregate dollar amount. The mortgage, for most people who have worked through smaller debts over the years, is the last open obligation, the last tab. When it closes, the background hum that had become ambient noise finally stops. People who have experienced it describe it as a silence they had not known was missing. When James's mortgage disappears, and he is on a path to reach payoff at year 23 rather than year 30 through modest additional principal payments, his monthly expense floor drops by approximately $2,000. In the financial independence framework, eliminating $24,000 annually in mandatory expenses reduces the invested portfolio required for independence by $600,000. He has not earned more. He has not been promoted or launched a business. He has changed what survival requires, and that number determines every option available to him. When survival requires both incomes running at full capacity, neither person can afford to leave a role that is damaging their health, take a meaningful pay cut for more fulfilling work, start a business that needs 18 months to become profitable, or ask for the kind of schedule flexibility that would make life more livable. The mortgage enforces this constraint quietly, invisibly, every day. Academic research has confirmed the mechanism. Households carrying higher mortgage balances show significantly reduced rates of new business formation. The causal path is exactly what intuition suggests. Every dollar committed to a mandatory payment cannot absorb risk elsewhere. When Nathan's mortgage ended, he did not become rich. His income was unchanged, but he stopped filtering every career conversation through the question of whether the answer protected the payment. He took the Tuesday off because the math now allowed it. That is what changed. On a $450,000 mortgage at 6.5%, the standard 30-year payment runs approximately $2,800 monthly. Total interest over the life of the loan exceeds $570,000, more than the original purchase price of the home. Switching to bi-weekly half payments, splitting the monthly payment and making it every 2 weeks, produces 13 full payments annually instead of 12. The additional payment costs nothing in lifestyle adjustment and eliminates 5 to 6 years from the loan, while eliminating over $100,000 in interest. Adding $500 monthly to principal payments shortens the timeline by approximately 8 years and eliminates $150,000 in interest. None of these require dramatic sacrifice. They require understanding what arriving at the finish line 8 years earlier is actually worth, and then running toward it on purpose. The Sunday spreadsheet is not a permanent condition. It is a phase, one that ends when the last payment processes, the lien is released, and the deed is finally yours without qualification. What changes is not primarily the cash flow, though the cash flow change is substantial and compounds into something extraordinary. What changes is the question that has been running in the background of every significant decision. Can we still cover the mortgage? That question disappears. The decisions that follow it are different decisions, made from a different starting position, with different options available, shaped by what is actually wanted rather than what the payment requires. James is still running the Sunday spreadsheet, but he can see the finish line now, and the calculation he is running is not how to survive the month. It is how many years remain until the question goes quiet for good. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Tell me what you think in the comments, and like and subscribe to James Invest for more content like this.